mute button was flashing.
Welcome. We are sorting things out on our end, but we hope. Let's see. We got some things sorting out on our end.
We're shaking out robots and our live stream.
But to be clear, we got a lot of exciting content coming for tonight's reveal night. We had a handful of late submissions, so we're just getting things squared away. But we are here for the Peach Pit Reveal Night, as well as a preview for our Albany event coming up this upcoming weekend. Week 1 is rapidly approaching, folks. Get those robots finished up. From what I saw today over at the DE Fields, some teams, including ourselves, have a ways to go. But yeah, we're the Peach Pit crew. We're here to bring the Peachtree District some exciting content. Again, showing off some of the cool robots that we're going to see in person in the upcoming weekends, as well as some fun conversation regarding how we're viewing the game, how we might see some initial strategies play out in the upcoming weeks and play out through the season. But in weeks to come, we'll do some event previews and reviews between weeks instead of just talking about the new robots as we're popping up here. But before we get really started, we're going to jump into some week 1 preview content before diving into our fun content of some reveal. But let's go ahead and do some introductions. My name is Kellen Hill. I'm a lead mentor for Team 1746 Auto out of Cumming, Georgia. Who's next?
Hi, I'm David Allred. I am the technical mentor and drive coach on Team 4451 out of Lawrence, South Carolina, and now with Fountain Inn High School as well.
I'm Brian Carlson. I'm with Team 6829 Night Robotics, and I'm a strategy mentor there.
Hello, I'm Thomas Priego. I'm a strategy mentor with Team 1746, and I'm a chocolate glazed donut enthusiast.
All right, we get everybody. I lost attention again, but this is a little bit different format. We've done this once or twice, I think, in the past for doing live streaming, so we don't have too many edits generally to our content when we are posting. But it's a little bit different feel to be doing it live. But yeah, this will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, so feel free to watch it later or send out the link to share with some friends. But while we're getting kind of content squared away again for our reveal night, what we're going to do is jump into some content and discussion regarding the Albany event this upcoming weekend. So let's see. Any general thoughts as we're closing in on week 1? I know we've got some kind of a little bit of preview for what week 0s have shown off.
Do we want to talk about week 0 first or Albany first?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw week 0.
Yes. All right, I'll start. Go ahead, Thomas.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway of week 0 is that the propensity for upsets is with double elimination is been increased. I think what we saw at the New England week 0 was the 7th seed and the 6th seed meeting each other in the finals. So I think this year teams need to be, you need to be a lot more aware of what upsets can happen, will happen, and all craziness that can ensue therein.
Yeah, one thing I saw that went along with that, the 7 and 8 seed, I think it was, making it to the semifinals at the New Hampshire event, and then the 7 seed taking out 7 seed being the 1 seed in the semifinals, and going to the finals against the 2 seed and beating them too. So it's like there are upsets available. You definitely don't have we got a throwaway match. Everyone is important. And to go along with that, one of the things I saw a few times, there were robots with 5 seconds trying to hey, let me get on the platform too. And last year we had climbs, and well, you didn't get your climb, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But I saw a balanced platform go to unbalanced, and them losing points because somebody tried to climb it last second. So 5 seconds, just stay away if you're not on there.
Right. I'll tag on to that. So as draft coach, this is going to be a super fun game to coach because you've got a lot of coordination to do. So I guess a couple observations. The traffic wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Now, of course, when we get out there in a real game behind the glass, it's probably going to look chaotic. But for me, the game flow didn't look too bad. There were certain situations where teams got trapped behind the charge station, and they were blocking their own teammate from coming out to get a piece. So that type of coordination is going to be extremely important for the coaches on all three alliances to work together and come up with a decent traffic flow and then a way to react to these chaotic moments. But early in the season, and I think it played out in the New Hampshire event, is the charge station is the game at this point, especially the end game, right? So if you can get 3 on there, and as Brian pointed out, not taking a balanced bridge to an unbalanced bridge and taking points off the table. So it's almost like even in qualifications, it's almost like you're playing elimination matches, and someone's going to have to coordinate the go no go on, are we unbalancing the bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you take points?
I think it's almost comparable to 2017 in that regard, for the kind of, you either get the climbs and you win, or you don't and you lose. But this year it's at least in 2017 you didn't knock your other 2 partners off. Yeah, this is all eggs in the basket.
This is all eggs on one basket, right? So triple balance versus double balance. So I always like to, as a draft coach, always like to coordinate autonomous and in game, and then talk about teleop. But there's going to be a whole lot of conversations here.
Yeah,
a whole lot of coordination between the draft coaches. So, like I said, a fun game to coach.
Yeah. I just got we were over at the DE field today for Walton, and huge props to them for hosting that and having teams use that field. But just for standing behind the driver's station, Brian was pointing out kind of the visibility for like the hybrid zone. It's unless you're wandering or communicating as drive coaches, there's a lot of difficulty, I think, in seeing where those game pieces are actually scored and making decisions about where to score next. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned to Kellen is whichever station you're in, you cannot see the flex spots that's directly in front of you in the center. You can see the ones on left and right, but the one beneath all the cone cubes you can't see, right? And so you're going to need your either wander around a little bit or have all the coaches communicating like, hey, are you empty over there? And they know that you're asking, hey, no, you have a piece, or no, you don't have it, and vice versa. You have to really coordinate because if you got a link, right, you want to fill that link out. You want to fill that link out someplace else and not focus on what you're doing. So it could be real important to really stay in communication. I actually think this year the coaches have to be more engaged. And our team, the coaches sort of working with all the alliances and trying to sort of do what they need to do. And then our manipulator sort of does the, where are we driving, what are we doing kind of stuff. And this time you really have to orchestrate everybody, not just yours.
Yeah, it's a throwback here to date myself. But my rookie year in first was 2005. But you're essentially playing a big game of tic-tac-toe out on the field. In 2005, so being actively aware of, all right, what game pieces scored where, and where do we need to score next. And again, like 3 in a row, obviously it has comparisons to this year. But yeah, very actively being aware of, all right, where are we scoring next? Where are our teammates scoring? Obviously, you're not playing on the same scoring elements as the other alliance as you were in 2005, but yeah, very complex. Interested in seeing where things go from here. Any other thoughts on week 0?
There's another thing for human players. If you're manning the double station, if robots come in straight, right, you can actually slide that platform around as they're coming in and getting it centered for them and not make the driver do all the work.
Good point.
Any other things from week 0? I'm trying to think. But I think, like you all said, I think earlier, is that like a charging platform is a huge deal off the bat, and I think we got our kind of auton balancing routine sorted out, and we're trying to think like, all right, if things don't work out for getting all the scoring elements on this thing, what's the maximum amount of points this robot can score? And I think we figured out we could score 28 points or so without even having a manipulator of any sort. That's not even considering like pushing pieces in during teleop, just for all balancing points, leaving the community zone, and so focus on where those really easy points are to get, and focus on them.
Right. Yeah. I like to tag on to that one too. So don't struggle too long with I can't get the cone on the pole. If something went wrong with your manipulator or something and it's just not working out, drop it in the hybrid zone, go get another game piece. Just score and go. Don't wait too long to score one game piece, because links are more valuable than a single game piece, right?
Yeah, it's and very much again in the flow of things for how congested that community zone can get with 3 robots. If you're taking up time and space, you gotta figure out when to cut loose and get out of there.
Drop and go.
But,
so if you think about it,
or go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
So if you think about it, if all you do is have one bot balance, triple balance at the end, and everybody leave their mobility, you are at 51 points doing nothing other than just driving.
Right.
Yep, it
more
makes
than
a
half
big
the
dent.
score would be that game right there. More than half the score.
And the most important part about those points is they're consistent. They're one action for a lot of points instead of scoring game pieces one by one. I think it's also going to throw a lot of variability into qualifications. That like if one of the top bots winds up being on alliance and they don't wind up working out their climb at the end of the match, is either you really risk losing the match, number one, but you also risk losing the RP extra bonus RP point that comes from the charging platform. So I think it can throw a huge wrench into the rankings of a qualifier, which I think are going to be particularly wild kind of in the first couple district events as people get their feet wet with this game. But I think we'll start seeing it even out as the season goes to see people getting the grip on, all right, how do you actually balance on these platforms instead of just auton balancing. But
so
I've got my plan.
The other thing is there was a match in week 0 where they got 17 of the 27 game pieces scored and they weren't really doing autons. This game is going to start accelerating fairly fast, right? It's going to hit its stride mid-season, not towards the end of the season.
I have some concerns about durability of robots. I know there are a lot of intakes out there going over bumpers, a lot of teams going for those game pieces on the floor right at the beginning of the match, or holding game pieces outside of their frame perimeter as they're driving across the field. That kind of durability and making sure your intake and your mechanisms are ready for the marathon of the season, especially once you get to, like, I can't imagine for Albany being 22 teams, is that district or qualifying matches are going to go real quick for having that few teams, so that you don't get a lot of time between matches to fix mechanisms. So as much of a warning as this can be, make them durable.
Or be like 1771, have everything replaceable in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's works some years better than others, but I guess we got Ian, our producer here, is playing around with some of the content, getting it squared away in the background. But all right, so do we want to jump into any discussion about what we're doing for like leading into Albany? Any thoughts on what we expect out of the first event here in PCH? Who some of the contenders might be. We like to. It's been a little while since we've done this, but for last season event previews. But at the end, we'll kind of pick out who you think is like either a favorite or kind of a dark horse. So just keep your eyes on the team numbers. But we do have, I think, obviously Albany's a Georgia event down in Albany, Georgia. But I think there is a single South Carolina team crossing the border for this one. For 81-37, the Biting Bulldogs from Georgetown. So
That's right.
We got some cross state play already for this new PCH district. But
yeah, and they were at the 342 shop this past weekend and got moving, and are looking for a little bit of support when they get there. But so please be gracious hosts for our single South Carolina team coming south of the border. That's interesting. South of the border. South. Yeah. South of
over
south.
there of the border.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be really interesting for this Albany event. That it's only 22 teams. I don't know if an event lasts for this event. If Georgia First has made any indication of how the event structure is going to play out. I forget if the first manual really clearly spells out. All right, if it's less than 24, this is the Elam's alliance or Elam's structure you should play by. If the one alliance just gets a bye, or if you just do 6 alliances or 7 alliances, or how it's going to work out. But that'll be really interesting to watch. But I think kind of as our week 0 conversation was leading, that really those charging points are going to win and lose a lot of matches based on whether you get them or not.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen anything official about the playoff structure. I don't know if they're going to do 7 alliances, 1 backup robot. That's going to be wild.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 22 teams. I think I'm curious to see if 8872 shows up, because they're here in Gwinnett County, and I've worked with their mentor a little bit early in the season, and I have not heard anything from them recently. I've tried reaching out to them. So that might make it even more difficult for that competition. Dropped down to 21.
Yeah. Even we'll see how it goes. Should be interesting.
So we are not official members of the committee, so we don't know how it's going to play out. But we'll see.
So I will say I saw 1683. I think Otto, Kellen and Thomas, you saw them too today at Walton DE, and they're doing some pretty good cycling. They need to dial in their game piece placement a little bit, but hitting the cone intake was really good, moving around really well. So they got a few days left. I know they have a little spot to practice around by them in their facility, so hopefully they can dial in the game placement.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the whole sphere of first, kind of seeing these reveal videos from a lot of the world's top teams and being like, oh, well, we're really far behind. But I think it's interesting, like for Peachtree so far, I've not seen too many like polished robots. And in that regard, it was impressive to see that 1683 was running like they were and practicing scoring and autonomous and everything as they were in comparison to the rest of the robots at the event that were kind of still working some things out or didn't have all the mechanisms on the robot. So the big props to 1683.
I'm glad I'm not week 1.
Yeah, same here.
Very happy we're not week 1. I used to be.
You can't go to Gainesville and then rank towards the bottom and all of a sudden be the best spot in playoffs anymore.
That was that was the whole strategy, and then here we are.
Yeah, the joke of it is we had actually bribed the facilities manager so we'd be able to get in after hours to work on the robot while everyone was home. This is
a full fib by Thomas Priego, just for anybody wondering out there. But yeah, we did have remarkable luck at Gainesville when the events were hosted there for either if we were on any of, I think we were early on the top seed, but just making things work and having some good success there. So
Yeah.
But like who else do we got on the list here? I think 4188's usual kind of upper tier robot in the PCH district. I have not seen much posted from them, so I'm curious to see what they pull out.
Yeah.
And then, of
4509.
course,
Go on.
there's the Albany team 6919. I don't know how we've not mentioned them yet, but they've been really strong. I believe they were finalists at state last year and won the Albany event last year.
Yeah, they've been a building program over the last few years, so it's exciting to see what they're up to, and I think they're I think on that upward curve still, assuming not much has changed from last year. So it'll be exciting to see what they bring. They usually make some good choices for not overextending their capability set and making some good robots. So excited to see what they have. I think Brian, you were mentioning 4509.
Yeah, so last year they really did well, going all the way to district champion, states at that time, right? And they got better as they went along, right? So showed a lot of improvement as the season went along. And this year, I believe they're bringing out a swerve. So I'll be very interested to see the next step for them this season.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, who else do we got? I think 3635 is always an interesting robot. I know they really took advantage of mechanism wheels in 2019 for doing some sideways motion. So we'll see what kind of robot they pull together this year for a game that kind of has some benefits for robots moving sideways. But yeah, I think it's interesting week one event for these Albany teams. I think, again, like, focus on what your robot can do, not what was it intended to do.
Yeah.
So it's very important to play with the robot you're showing up with instead of the robot you mentally had in here throughout the build season. So,
and it's week one. Look at the last 4 matches because people are going to be getting functionality going there. And 4188's done really well the past several years, but week one it's always a crapshoot, and there's a lot of good teams there. So I can see a lot of different outcomes coming from that. So just pay attention.
And I think the biggest thing for week one is don't judge a team based on their whole body of work. Try and look at their improvement curve. Because as teams kind of get a feel for what their robots can do, you will be better able to assess whether they're going to be good or bad. I do personally know, as a team that has historically struggled at the beginning of quals, take it in stride. Yes, some teams are going to struggle more than others, but try and see where they are headed instead of where they have been in terms of robot performance.
Yeah. So, do y'all have any hot takes on the pairings that are going to win this?
Based on what I've seen,
I'm not seeing any obvious pairings.
I think somebody, I think it was either Thomas or Brian had mentioned this, and I think I'm fully on board with it. Just for seeing 1683 moving around the field and being able to score and have the robot together and have some time before week one and doing what they're doing. I think there's always going to be room for improvement there, but that they're showing that capability before the event starts. 1683 is kind of one of my favorites, but I think what Thomas mentioned was 6919 is hard to ignore at that Albany event for making some good choices. So
their home event.
I also think it's foolish for us to try and predict who's going to rank first without seeing a lot of these robots, and also with how volatile these ranking points are going to be. I think this event more than others, we could see potential scorches. We could see a bunch of just craziness happening. So I'm just going to refrain from doing any predictions for week one.
Okay. Oh, come on, Thomas.
I'll do them, and I'm not even from the state, right? So let me do one. See, I like this, right? So, I know some of these programs at the top, and I've seen them a little bit before. I'm going to say the third robot's winning this game for you. And so, in other words, who is most familiar with the drivetrain, who has a low center of gravity, and the triple balance is going to win it. So it's the third robot, which I don't know much about. But I'm just going to throw it out there that Columbus Space Program and the Commodores will team up, and you'll have the Techno Titans, the Mechanical Bulls team up. And I'm going to give it to the Techno Titans and Mechanical Bulls with their third robot that I don't know.
Well, and I think this is, again, just like we were saying earlier, is that this season is ripe for upsets, especially with the double elim structure. Yep. And this event only having 21 or 22 teams, that, yeah, getting a robot that's happy, healthy, and functional as a third bot is really going to put you at an advantage compared to the team kind of getting that last robot in the alliance selection process. So
yeah. So I look at those four also too, David. Typically I like to usually think that you go to a competition, like there's three that sort of separate themselves from the pack, and two of those three team up and they're going to advance, right? This game is different, and it's week one, and all those teams have done well and also struggled a little bit in different years, right? I think we're not going to see a clump of three and then the rest of the field. I think this could be 4 or 5 deep.
Yeah, that's what I see too. So there's several combinations, and it's going to be the third robot that wins it with the triple balance.
But yeah, I think we're in for quite a show at this Albany event. I think per those top bots we were mentioning, I think like 4188, I think, is one of those stronger contenders generally, but we'll see how strong of a start they can get out to this week one event. That would be my biggest curiosity for them. Before we move on to the reveals, does anybody have any kind of, I think we've talked about the biggest players at this event. Any dark horses on this list that you see jumping out for either brand new programs that might not have much experience under their belts, or a robot that might be on the way up and up? I'll at least throw out, we saw again at DE today that we saw 4112 over there, which they have, I think they have the same swerve as last year for doing the SDS swerve modules, I'm pretty sure, but then had a kind of telescoping arm with an end effector on a wrist. Looked like they still had some kinks to work out, but it'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off. But a pretty capable robot design if they can pull it off. We'll see if they can get that wrist control under control. But that would be kind of my interesting robot of this event. Any other thoughts?
I will say this. I think 3635 Flying Legion can do real well there. They placed really good last year. I think around in the 20-25 range. And so with this game, if you pick a decent design that you can drive, that's going to win you a lot early on week one. Mm-hmm.
I think some others are 9260 is an interesting one for Built for Bib Robotics. I think they have some former 4941 mentors for RoboBib. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out as a rookie team. Let's see. I think the other one I remember Grayson Robotics 8100. I'm not too familiar with the team, but if I remember correctly, they are the host of the Gwinnett County DE site. Correct me if I'm wrong there, if anybody is aware.
Yeah, they are. Grayson is the DE site in Gwinnett.
But yeah, I'd be curious if they get some advantage for having a playing field on hands for getting some more practice in. So another interesting robot there. And then 4701, I think, would be another that I think they've kind of leaned on the Everybot style. No, they were the air duct kind of robot in 2019, right? But yeah, just some interesting robots with some good strategies and keeping things simple and successful design. So curious to see how they wind up coming out this week one Albany event. Any last thoughts on Albany before we jump into the reveals? I'll take that as a no. We'll have more to say on Albany come next week in a little bit of a review, but obviously easier to call the plays in hindsight, and once we actually see some PCH matches getting underway. So with that being said, we're going to jump into our reveals. And Ian, I don't know if you want to hop on audio here, if that makes it any easier, but I don't know if you have who we might have queued up first here. We have a couple late submissions, and awesome. Yeah, awesome. If anybody just watched us stare at our screens for 5 seconds straight, Ian's in the background quarterbacking for us and getting the
yeah, we don't have the earpieces, for the producer.
Yeah, we're working through our setup over here still, but let's see. Let's go ahead and start off with 1683, since we were talking about them, and they'll be playing at Albany this weekend. I think they just sent in some their video from DE actually for today, so we'll get some of that pulled up here. But yeah, again, an impressive looking robot. It's kind of a elevator on an elevator kind of design for going straight up, straight down, and then another elevator mounted to it for going in, out. Obviously with that wrist of an end effector, and picking up cones. Seemed like they had that pretty squared away for loading from the human player. Brian, Thomas, any thoughts from seeing this robot at DE?
So they are running photon vision and the limelight. So I'm not sure I saw the photon vision on there, but they are running photon vision on a Raspberry Pi. Really stable, drove smoothly. So I think their speed was good. So I think they're going to do. I think they'll do pretty well there.
Agreed. Yeah, it's again cool to see robot working that well, even before week one, where I know a lot of people struggle to have a robot together and ready to go. So best of luck to them. Ian, I think they have some more content in the folder. I know they put together kind of a play-by-play list for all the mechanisms they have for descriptions on what motors, what kind of wheels and things they're using everywhere. But we got an info sheet for these. We'll see it if we can zoom in a bit for walking through that. But I think obviously the team's kind of seeing them at Albany will get the in-person play-by-play. But yeah, a quality looking robot. And again, I think there's so much to be said for getting a robot done and practice. So there'll be quite an advantage, I think, compared to the majority of the field in having a robot ready to go and ready to play this game. Any other thoughts on 1683?
Did they have a video?
Well, they got some video, right?
Oh, yeah. That's where they had some video from the DE session today. So we'll get that pulled up and rolling here.
Yeah, I was recording them because I'm like, hey, they're doing pretty good. Check them out.
Yeah.
I think something to note while Ian is working on getting this video to play is they can not pick up cones on any orientation for the field. And I'm just really curious. I know we talked about it some in the beginning of the season when it comes to congestion of if all these robots can only pick up clones when they're perfectly straight up and down, how congested that human loading zone is going to become. So I think that's just something to keep in mind for teams as they're planning out how those matches look like.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, we're
Just to reference the people in chat, yes, they can pick up tip over cones, but it does require that, you know, the two 3-step motion, which would take up a lot more time than just hitting it and running away with it.
Yeah.
This is the point I was trying to make.
The one thing I'll point out on this, and it's easy to basically, bite off more than you can chew, right? Is they have two elevators, things that, I'm not sure exactly their details, right? And why they chose things, but taking things that are well known in general and adapting them to the game, to elevators, allows them to basically reduce the complexity of things they don't know, so they have less things to try to debug and figure out. And it's very easy to do something that's more complex and start seeing some of the stuff that the top teams do and say, hey, we can do that too. And you got to be careful when you do those kind of choices. So I think bots like this that take something simple and effective and just iterate on it and get better at it are going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm. I like this design, although I haven't seen the video yet. I'm waiting to see that. But the use of COTS parts that they're using here for the elevator kits, the stability of this system should be fairly solid. They won't have a lot of wobble. So I'm liking it before I see the video.
I think a 1683 team member is also mentioning in the chat that they can write tipped cones on the floor. Not that that's generally the best use of time, I don't think. I think it's really important to focus on your bread and butter, and if it takes more time to self-write or write a cone than it would to just go get a new cone from the human player. But a handy feature to have, especially if the cone's already in your community zone and you need a way to get it tipped back up right and ready to score. So if you've gotten any more luck on getting these videos playing,
I guess they're doing the
all right. In the meanwhile, we'll jump to a team that I don't believe we have any video for, which is in fact David Allred's team here, 4451.
Yeah.
So, David. Pull up the content here, but we got some screenshots. Walk us through it, David.
Sure. So we are not quite swerve ready for a highly dominant swerve game. So forget the lamenting. So we decided that being able to pick up from one side and score out the other side was important. Some of the original design sketches were insane, where we had an arm on an elevator on a turret, so we could grab it, drive in sideways, and turret the thing out, and the number of degrees of complexity just got crazy, and I punted on that. So then we ended up with this design, and just happened to be really super duper parallel with the Rembrandts, another really good team out of the Netherlands. If you've never met these guys, they're terrific. 4481, and their spin dexter system. So our theory is we have a intake that's quite a beast. We can leave it out there, come and hit it if you want to. It's beefy, and we can pick up small animals with that thing and throw it into the spin dexter and turn the cone around like we need it, throw it over our head. The cone I don't think we're going to have as much trouble with is that stinking beach ball cube. So in our design, what we did in our prototyping, what we found out was it's best to handle the cube gently. And so we'll only be running the top rollers to bring the cube in, and we're going to grab it in. We're not going to let it hit the spinning platter. We're just going to grab it right out of the intake. Because it is a beach ball, if you haven't figured that out yet. Have another view of the robot. So second view is a side view of the starting configuration. This took a little bit because we were looking at maybe could we do a 4-bar with the intake and couldn't figure out how to get the arm architecture just right. So this arm tucks in, and so we would start the game with the cube upside down in the gripper with the nose pointing into the intake, and then flip it over our head to score, and then bring it back and drive out over the bridge. And then go get another game piece, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's full.
We have a similar intake style for once it's deployed. But yeah, we've got any of our own complicated method of sticking it out and pulling it back in. So it's interesting to see how teams made those choices for.
Yes. So keep it simple. We also, you can kind of see it here. There's a camera out the back and a camera out the front. So we'll be a limelight aiming out the back and just video streaming out the front to see what the intake's doing. And just go to the next picture. This is probably one of the smallest drop bases we've made. But even at that, it's hard to see in this picture, but there are, it's a standard West Coast 6-wheel drive, 6-inch wheels, because I didn't like taking my 4-inch wheels over that electrical bump last year. And so we went 6-inch wheels, and now we have 3-inch drop down Coulson wheels to drive around the bridge. We're geared fairly fast. So our drop down wheels essentially give us a second speed, a half speed while we're driving on the bridge and balancing. The other feature of that is we can throw those wheels down in the middle and actually hang off the side of the bridge by driving straight onto it. We can hang off maybe 6 inches or so plus the bumper. So that's a lot of extra room for that third partner at the world championship level, of course. Triple balance or go home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next picture. The last one. And this is just the scoring orientation because we can, in our community, we can have stuff going out both ends. We'll just leave the intake out, most likely because it's big and heavy, and to score behind us, pull the arm back in and go get another game piece. So the theory is we're not turning around, but that means we're scoring primarily on the outside grids and not the ones in front of the charge station. Any questions from you guys? Or
y'all compete week 2 for the first time, right?
Anderson, yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see once you get it more together and start seeing some snapshots of the robot moving around. But I think it's solid concept, and I think we're kind of in a similar boat of like conceptually this robot awesome.
Works in CAD.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to see it happen in person. So
we'll have the video of it next week before the Anderson event. You can see it.
Yeah, I think a lot of PCH teams are in that same boat right now for us, trying to get across that finish line of having a viable finished product of a robot that's capable of playing some of these matches. But yeah, awesome looking robot.
Yeah, any questions out there in the community, either on Discord or Slack, just send us something, and we'll send you whatever you want to know. We're going to be scoring cones and cubes and balancing on the bridge. I mean, it's not. We're not doing anything different.
Okie doke. Sounds like we have video working. Let us know in the chat if you can hear Ian or not. I think that's either we sound like we're crazy or talking to somebody that's not here, or let us know, and we'll know if we need to parrot whatever Ian's telling us. So we're either crazy for repeating ourselves or crazy for talking to somebody who's not here. So. But yeah, it sounds like we've got some the ability to get some videos rolling, so that'll help as we keep going here. But
we're gonna go back to the Titans.
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna get our video screen up here in a second for 1683 pulling back up for some of their match video from DE today. So
can see the screen. It's not
Yeah. The crowd has reported that they cannot hear Ian. So just for thanks for letting us know, Sonny. But yeah, we got then 1683 running some laps. I don't know if it looks a little bit laggy on our end. I don't know how it's looking on the stream, but yeah,
it looks good on the stream.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, you got a couple other robots out there on the field that some of you may recognize, but we'll focus on the Techno Titans here. But yeah, like I said, they were running clean cycles for grabbing cones from the human player station. They were lining up pretty consistently, it seemed. I don't know if they're using vision for lining up on that end, or they're using the trick like Brian mentioned earlier for the human player kind of sliding it back and forth for alignment. But yeah, otherwise they got that swerve drive. They do have the robot orientation, so they do have to kind of do the 180 every time they cross the field for picking up out of the front, scoring out of the front. But not at all a drawback when you can do anything consistently, especially with swerve, just for being able to kind of reorient as you're driving. But yeah, you can see him scoring a couple game pieces there. Yeah, Sonny makes a comment here for looks like they designed it on day one and just built it. So, and
Yeah.
I think there's so much to be said for keeping it simple and practice the wheels off of it.
I like this design a lot.
But yeah, we got then a second video for some shot from the driver station. Yeah, doing kind of scoring while your robot's facing you, I think is an interesting perspective for a driver. But I think there's a lot of complexity and hopefully simplicity on how the drivers are able to control these robots, and yeah, telling it to score on a particular peg or on a particular cube zone, just to be able to line up and be on your way for another game piece. But yeah, again, solid looking robot from 1683. Impressive job to the Techno Titans. We look forward to seeing this robot throughout the season.
Like it.
All right, I'm gonna leave. Thomas, who do you think should go next?
I think this is a surprise to a lot of people. I think, just to announcement, we have a photo that I received from 1771 that I've been given permission to share with the class, under the caveat that none of us have, only producer Ian, who you cannot hear, has seen this photo, and that we will be reacting to it live. There is potential that this photo is a meme, but we are, if y'all and the audience is willing, I think it's time to pull this one out.
Let's do it.
Ian, if you're ready for
1771, if you're out there, know that we trusted you to not pull a prank on us here. So we'll see what they sent us here for.
Bring it.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
In that case, I guess the chat wants 10:02.
So for the y'all that can hear, we can't get it up yet, so we're going to give it to another team.
Yeah, for the variety of content we have for YouTube links or movie files or pictures, so we're working on it. We'll get you that content you're looking for. But
oh no, at the official 1771 YouTube account just commented a winky face. I have zero faith in them.
No. You know what you did, and we'll soon know as well. Yeah, so we're looking at 10:02 here, correct?
Yes, that's
all right. Let's see, what do we got going on here? We got we got an angled, hard-mounted elevator. It looks like, but then we got a claw extended off of it, and I'm curious to see.
It passes through.
It's a pass through. Yeah.
That's a fun one. I've not seen that type design for kind of an elevator going up and then rotating out from underneath in order to pivot like that. So that's a curious design you got there, circuit runners.
I've seen some of their content on the Discord, so that they've been fairly consistent all season with this concept.
Gotcha. But yeah, I think they're on that same strategy train of kind of pick up off the one side and score out the other. So I think the minimize the turning around aspect of the game, I think, is a good strategy note on this robot. So it looks like a couple stage elevator for the one longer stage, and then the carriage kind of riding in between with the end effector on it. But looks like a 6-wheel traction wheels. I'm trying to tell if an Omni's on one end of that or not.
Yeah, looks like they're doing the claw type roller design for the intake.
Yeah. Looks like some bumpers getting made there in the background, all taped up. But yeah, interesting looking robot, and I think let's see what trying to think of when I can see. Yeah, they'll be playing in Dalton first, so they'll be playing in a week 2 event. So some progress still to be made, but an interesting concept there by 1002. So looking forward to seeing what they're able to do with this robot. We're also part of the angled elevator group. We got a few other things going on underneath our elevator, but yeah, cool to see another robot. Any other thoughts on 1002?
I'm just waiting to see how their end effector works, but yeah, the concept is pretty straightforward. I like it.
Yeah, we're going to angled elevator also, right? It's a nice stable design. Just support it and it doesn't move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Ignite. I think you've got the nice the steep elevator rail that you can get much longer elevator sections by keeping it at that steeper angle.
Yep.
Ours is a little shallower. That we have quite a few more sections to our elevator, so we'll see how that plays out. But all right, any other circuit runner thoughts here?
Oh, sure.
Oh, they have
video. One more video here to check out.
Yes, our producer says there's a video, so let's see it.
There we go. So yeah, we had the animation for this kind of extension, and then we got the walkthrough here. So it looks like it might be a pincher end effector for at least from this video for the two tubes kind of or aluminum tubes kind of coming out.
I'm thinking that's just where they mount the end effector onto.
I think it's gonna be like Techno Titans, where it's got the 2 claws that come out that make open and close and have rollers on it. Is kind of how the animation sort of implied.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can't have it too wide, I think, for still being able to pass back through the elevator rails. But yeah. All right, good looking robot, circuit runners. Looking forward to seeing it out on the field.
So stream, can you hear Ian now? He just spoke.
But
all right.
Okay. Another video coming from 1771, or photo.
It's just a photo. It should be in there in that folder, Ian. It's
all right. 1771.
All right.
Let's see what their tricks are up to. All right, thanks for letting us know again.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is part of the robot.
And it's not wood. It's not wood.
It's still natural material, Tom. It's a carbon fiber.
It's got carbon. Their whole robot is carbon. The whole thing can go up with a match, right?
See, I think they burned all their previous robots, took the carbon made from those fires, and were able to figure out the process of making carbon fiber.
So is it technically still a wooden robot then?
Yes. Clearly.
No, it is not. It's got carbon fiber on it. and therefore it is not a wooden robot.
Yes.
Unfortunately, now that means that the termite-based defense strategy will not work.
Yeah, we're gonna need some
No.
mutations in the termites we've been breeding, Thomas, to
Yeah.
properly eat this robot.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna be near a weight, so we can't use their spritz bottles either.
Yeah, I've been. I have purchased. In an unrelated note, I have purchased 3 humidifiers in the last week or so. So, 1771, you guys, look out.
Well, typically when teams use carbon fiber arm, they're intending to use quite a bit of angular speed. I'll say that. How about that? That's my
Yeah,
is
if
their
anybody
angular
remembers, there
speed.
was
Rascal's going to be on the high side.
yeah, like the 971 robot in 2018. That arm had some movement for being big double jointed arm, kind of whipping around as it did. So
I'm just giving a warning.
Speaking of
Referees on the
971 in 2018, why don't we just go and talk about 1414 in 2023?
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
we get some. We saw a bit of 1771 at DE today. We're not going to give away too much, but they got. I think Chris Wilson's comment was that they talked to the students after in setting goals for this season, and they had a prescribed "we're shooting for the moon" strategy. So they're, I think, really swinging for the fences, and we'll see if they can pull off their intended goal. So
it's a work in progress.
Be an interesting robot. But yeah, Ian, we might not want to start with that video.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I figured. I was like, I'm going to go down the list, but all right.
No, we got some interesting so if you want to start with, there's a copy of Carbon logo. Yeah, that's the one for
okay. Yeah.
Just kind of doing the so again, this is not 971 in 2018, just for those curious. This is IHOT's robot for the 2023 season. We have another double jointed arm end effector. If you squint, you might be able to catch some more detail in there. We do have some pictures and video of this robot, so don't squint too hard trying to make out what's going on here. But again, another PCH robot swinging for the fences. I think the design concept is there. The question is, can they pull it off? And for all the programming that it takes to make this thing work. Any initial thoughts looking at this robot? I think something you'll be able to tell a little bit more from the pictures and the videos is kind of how the intake works and how they.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get the cone in nose first. And then
no, actually, they try. I think pulling the flange, the bottom base of the. Yep.
Well, so if it comes in nose first, they can just go over top and place it behind them and come in that way. Or if it comes in base first, they can just pick it up and paste it on front side too. So the design actually would allow to do both ways if it wanted to. I'm assuming without seeing.
Yeah, I think the videos only show the base coming in first. So I don't know if they'd have any preference for their drivers driving around cones in order to get it from the right side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be curious if they could do as you're describing, Brian, for taking a nose first. And I think we do have. Okay, so they're commenting in chat that they can do either. So thanks for that indication there. But let's go ahead and start checking out some of their pictures and videos they sent in, just sure. So this looks like their just their drivetrain that we've got here. So this is, I think, some of the video then. Just pulling in the base first.
Oh, I see.
Kind of, but it seems like they have an option to just drive around on the field with the game piece still on the carpet. That I'm curious how often they'll do that, or how often they'll wait kind of to get back to their home zone to then flip it up in the air. It's a really interesting intake. I think, again, we have some better pictures at some point, but they're kind of like and I don't know if they're custom made or if I've seen similar wheels out there, but they're kind of wrapped. So it's a wheel full of edges, kind of like that, obviously made out of rubber.
Do
I
print
think
those? Do we know if they printed those out of TPU or something?
there's some chance of that, or if you get the right rubber, you can like water jet it. I know it makes a whole lot of a mess,
okay.
but that would be another possibility there. Yeah, it looks like they have a whole boatload of that wheel type kind of just sitting right inside of a cutout bumper.
Yep.
Looks like they could pick up that stool.
So I think this video is they're kind of showing that kind of side to side motion just to be able to toggle to the next goal over, which I think is awesome to see that kind of a capability for a driver to just say bump over, all right, score. That I think is really going to aid in a driver scoring consistently and having those controls. So, yeah, good looking stuff there for the controls on that drivetrain. I think we got some video here of the arm moving around a little bit.
Good.
For seeing how this. They don't have the end effector on it yet for this video, but yeah, just moving around that carbon fiber tube.
Maybe it's just suction for an end effector. Pull a vacuum.
So who knows? Maybe 1440 is playing a prank and is I think it's really cool that we have 2 carbon fiber arm robots in the district this year. I think
I just don't want them at Gwinnett. That's all.
Yeah. Don't check the schedule, Brian. I don't think you'll be pleased to find out how many of those carbon fiber arms at Gwinnett. So.
Okay, it looks like they have a knockdown bar for the cones if they're standing upright.
Oh yeah.
We actually have a former PCHer and current 971 mentor in the chat for Andrew Morris. I think he wasn't with 971 in 2018, but I'm sure he's heard plenty of stories about the build of that robot. So some I think interesting flashbacks here for a really cool robot from the 2018 season. But the 2 PCH teams are trying out this kind of carbon fiber arm. I think is going to be a really interesting season to watch. But from what we're seeing here, it seems like 1414 is still working on finishing up their robot. Obviously, some good progress, and I don't think they play until week 3 at Gwinnett.
2 more weekends to finish.
Yeah, so it's time for kind of those refinements that we're looking for in a good robot. So
that one's going to have a low center of gravity.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah.
That is really a beautiful robot. Well done, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
really awesome to see. It'll be really interesting to check it out in person just to see how everything is packaged in such a low layer.
Interesting what the pneumatics is for.
Yeah, so these are those wheels I was talking about for the kind of fin-shaped design.
I like that.
But so the pneumatics, I think, is a knockdown bar. So if the cone is upright, that it just knocks the cone over and pulls the base in.
And I'm assuming it would help a little bit with the cube not going up when they hit it with those rollers on the bottom.
And that's true.
I'm guessing. I would need content from them, but that cube it's a beach ball.
Yeah, looks like you can see their battery standing up there on the left.
Yep.
Looks like the arm's a little bit offset, or the base arm is offset to one side, but that would make the top arm central on the robot.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I'd like to give a shout out to the poor electronics team on 1414 that just has to squeeze all of those electronics in as little space as possible. I've been there before and I know the struggle. So well done on squeezing it all in.
Those teeny little drop belts on their intake wheels are pretty cool too. Teeny little things.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
But yeah, I'd be curious. I think it'll be interesting to see how the robot's driven. I'd imagine this robot's. Well, I guess the end effector would be able to pick up out of the human player station if they really wanted to, but I imagine it's primarily off the floor. But again, I think Assange is there in the chat and can correct me if I'm wrong, but he says it's physically impossible to fit a Robo Rio and PDH on our belly pan. Well, I've got some unfortunate news. You need both of those things.
Since you don't have an end effector, you got some room up there.
Yeah, put it on the end.
Yeah, just carry the Robo Rio around and just use that as one of the pinchers to hold the game pieces with.
You could put an Able tag on the back of it.
But
Very nice.
yeah, awesome robot. Again, a really ambitious design. Looking forward to playing against it, and hopefully we'll have our own robot that's a little bit more ready than it currently is.
Yeah, I think they're scheduled for next weekend at IHOT is for Walton DE.
Okay.
Or maybe I saw them on the schedule, so I know I'll get a chance to see what they do here shortly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, again, really interesting to see these robots, like what the intent was through the build season. But yeah, it'll be even cooler to see them in person at events, and then obviously playing in matches. So we'll see. He says they're stacked up on top of each other. That's probably a good call, but hopefully it doesn't make inspection too much of an issue. I know the inspectors like to see things whenever possible. So, but all right.
It's there.
So again, awesome.
I think.
Yeah, Thomas.
I think so. As we're moving on, there are 2 teams left, if I remember correctly, with 1746 and Ignite. Do we want to flip a coin, or
Let's get it done.
how do we decide which one's next?
So, Ian, for ours, we have some audio. If we're able to stream that through, that'd be great when we do ours.
Sure.
So we'll flip a coin though, as far as who goes first.
Who has a coin?
Ignite. Done.
There we
All
go.
right.
I pick sides.
I'm the neutral partner here, so I'm going Ignite. Done.
All right.
So I want to give a shout out to one of our students, Nathan, who's our media lead, and he put together a little video here and did a great job. So I want to congratulate him for what he's done in a very short time. He had to take some film today, and on his phone was able to finish producing the rest of this small video to turn in.
So do we have the video somewhere? Am I missing it? Am I not in the right folder?
I think it's a YouTube link.
It is a YouTube link. Okay.
Yeah,
Is it in
yep.
Slack?
Here, let me send it to you quick for.
Sure.
Okay, got it. Sorry, again, we're sounding crazy, but we're sending Ignite's.
We're talking to the producer.
I should be on mic now.
Can you hear Ian now, people?
Third time's the charm, right? Okay. Alrighty. Copying link. I'll just go ahead and open that up here.
But yeah, thanks for everybody working through these hiccups with us along the way. Again, we don't do these things too often, so when they do pop up, we're working on the fly.
All right. So audio from this.
All right, looks like we're ready to go.
Yeah, audio from this should be going through to the stream. I don't know if it's going through to you guys. So I'll go ahead and hit play here if everyone's good with that. And let it roll.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, Ian, I don't think the audio for the video is going through
Not on the stream.
on
It's
the
not.
stream.
Gotcha.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Well, I unfortunately don't know the solution to that off the top of my head. I can vouch, having heard it. It was good and fit with the editing of the video well. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to grab that like right here.
So there's also a photo in the.
Sure.
You can throw up.
In the drive.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, huge shout out to Nathan. Being there at DA today got kind of a preview of this getting posted, but I think they'll wind up getting it posted on their team YouTube account. So make sure you check that out. But it's very well produced, especially I think within the matter of a couple hours for shooting video. But Brian, I guess walk us through the robot.
So we started out with a couple ideas behind this, which is low center of gravity, right? You can get some tall robots, and we want to be low center of gravity, and whenever possible, we wanted to do linear motion, something that's a little more controllable, stuff like that. The students went through and did some mock-ups, blocked CAD diagrams of a elevator type system, or then a shoulder with an arm kind of system. And we ended up going with elevator just to try to keep reducing complexity. And then, we used the Thrifty Bot, their elevator that they have, and we sort of narrowed it a little bit smaller, but used all their parts. Went through several iterations trying to get all the custom stuff in there, switched over to COTS to sort of save time so we can have more time to do programming and driving around. We put, let's see, the arm can actually extend out. I'm not sure if I have a photo, but anyways, so the index comes out and the arm extends out. We actually found out today that we don't need to really need to extend the arm to get to the high cone. We still have to play around with geometries to get that to properly score. Today was the first day we drove it around, so shaking out a lot of software bugs, hardware, like hey, it worked in CAD, right? Kind of stuff. So we're optimistic where we're going. Really proud of what the students have done and everything. So I can't wait to our programmers to Jahan and Garrett to do programming on this more, and our build team to iterate on some of the stuff. We learned some stuff today, going back and see if we can iterate. What can we add or change between now and Gwinnett, and what do we do afterwards? We are running a photon vision. I'm not sure what our total weight is, but our CG is really low. We got carbon fiber poles for support. One of the interesting things, one of our mentors works for a company called Quick Parts. And so they were able to print a few of our parts. They can do a lot more than we can afford to put on our BOM because of price limits. But the supports at the very top of that, the whole carbon fiber, those are actually glass infused nylon prints. They come out really great. And then pro tip, you can take parts and then put them in dye, RIT synthetic dye. And those were actually like a light gray, and we were able to dye those orange to match in with our stuff. It only took like 2 minutes to dye those. So,
Awesome.
That looks great.
So yeah, we are ignoring the cone tipped over conundrum. We'll just drive around it and do elsewise, do something else. If it's in the way, we have a swerve. So unlike 2017, it's easy to go to the side and just sort of push it off to the side a little more, or bat it off to the side. So any questions you all have?
Yeah, it was great seeing it at DE for moving around. I think obviously working some of the initial kinks out, but looks like it was a lot of tuning to figure out what you can and can't do.
Yep.
Which I think one of the popular sayings is then to break it in the shop as much as you can, which I think the DE field just counts just as much. But yeah, to figure out as many of those issues before your event that you possibly can. So it sounds like that's the process y'all are working through for, all right, does this thing work as intended?
Yep.
Or what changes do we need to make?
Yeah, we're going to visit another team this week. They sort of use, basically, like to say, like to create time, right? We have our schedule. It's like we see these things, and our programmers can use some more time. And that next 2 weekends, we're going to DE. If we take that time for programming, that's less drive team time. So trying to create time and find some places to find extra time for our programmers to dial this in.
So this is a cone off the shelf, cube off the floor?
We can do cone off the floor. We can do basically cone and cube off the floor plus got upright cone. And working out the geometries on the cone on the shelf right now. But we should be able to get that working is my expectation. But we shall see what happens and what we get for Gwinnett, right?
Alrighty, I think without further ado, it's time to do the last team. Last but not least, Team 1746. And I think, Ian, if we could do the video first.
Video first?
Vincent ended up sending me a bunch of photos to upload when the videos weren't working.
Gotcha.
So there's there in addition to the video.
All right.
That, and I think it's having listened to this, it works really well with the audio, but I think we're getting it up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I think it works.
Cool song here.
Right.
Yeah,
we are sorry, Vincent.
Yeah, apologies.
We tried our hardest.
Everyone who edited in nice audio for this. Any future videos, this will be sorted out, but technical difficulties this time. Thank you to everyone for hanging with us.
Yeah. And that video was a teaser. We're doing a longer one later on.
Same.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk, during the video, given that we don't have the audio. But yeah, we got showing off a number of our prototypes here. Yes, we prototyped our indexer on a treadmill. Yeah.
That treadmill belt is on our current robot, so
it may or may not be up to 10 years old. Who knows? But yeah, showing off some of our cool features, as well as some of our more questionable features. This is some of our initial testing, I think, moving the elevator in and out. So in the shop, we had a big round of applause or cheering as this happened. And then some technical difficulties were had. So we, if you were around in 2018 in Dalton, you may be familiar with 1746's famed Wonkavator, which goes up, up, out, and away, I think is the saying. So we had a sponsor make some work on some bearing blocks, but we hadn't quite gotten them in yet. So we had some 3D printed ones in there as placeholders. But in testing the elevator, anything closer to full speed, we had some tragic memories kind of brought back to us for the 2018 event, where we wound up shooting our elevator up and through the hard steps, that the elevator kind of went up and out of the robot and kind of fell down. So, but Andrew, I see you're commenting in the chat there. We did it in the shop and not on the field, so we know what we're doing. Brandon King asking if the elevator is continuous. The answer is yes. We have about an 18-foot long belt running on the back of that elevator, and I think, Ian, if we can go to the pictures, I think
it's picture 2 is the best one, or the second image.png.
But Yeah, so we've got that same kind of intake as 4451, 4481, but we have it on a silly kind of a telescopic-ish, just kind of linear rail setup that you extend it that has a linkage off at the end of it. I'm still not entirely quite sure about it myself. We'll have some more. Getting it on the robot is happening this week, so we'll have some.
So does the conveyor come outside the bumper, or does that stay inside?
No, the conveyor is
conveyor
entirely
is-
static.
Yeah, and then it's completely static. And it has, I think we saw in the video, but it has a line of omnis where we can pick up a cone on any orientation on the floor, and it just fixes it as it goes up.
Yeah, and so the cone can come in either direction. A lot of you, I imagine, have seen from then the Robot in 3 Days videos for the kind of the pinch and then swing scoring mechanisms. So the cone can come in either way, and we can just pinch the center of it, and the bottom is going to swing to the appropriate orientation for then the elevator to extend with it, plunge, and then release the game piece to score it on the scoring peg. Let's see. I think somebody else had given us that comment as well for the anti-aircraft SAM launcher, just for the kind of how the elevator looks plopped on top of this thing. We got Vincent, I think, in the chat for Vinyl 27. He was one of our early
no,
designers.
Thomas, we are not shooting cubes. Bad. No.
I was gonna say, if you need ballast down low, you can make something that looks like little rockets and just mount them on the side.
If you shoot rockets down, doesn't it propel, like create more downforce, I think?
So I'm curious. So last year you used exercise noodles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this year you got a treadmill. You're going to use a power rack next year?
Yeah, we're just encouraging that, physical activity, Yeah, people say that first robotics isn't a sport, but we're trying to change that mentality.
When Ed Barker said STEM gym, he didn't mean a real gym.
Team Auto sponsored by Planet Fitness.
Yeah, one of my ideas for our reveal video involved like a real close-up of the treadmill belt with like a couple little shoes that you'd have running along the treadmill to then zoom out and see. But it was pretty silly because we brought our students the treadmill into the shop for doing prototyping and set the prototype on top of the treadmill at a steeper angle. And this was just a concept. We're like, we'll give this thing a shot. And it wound up working out real great. So I think in the reveal video, again, that'll be on our YouTube page. You just hear any kind of shock of like, wow, this thing's actually working.
So that's something to point out. When we were first looking at our designs, we were thinking about like the claw type design, and we saw Spectrum doing the roller stuff, and we said, let's just try it out. And it's like, wow, that seems to work pretty well. And sometimes you just try something and see what goes with it. See what goes.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what rabbit holes people run down just for like, oh, this seems promising. Let's run with it. But like the design philosophy, I think, is comparable to 4451's robot for the again, same style intake, but get the game piece in the robot. You can work on indexing it while you're driving across the field. You don't have to worry about aligning to a human player station in a particular manner, but it's just full robot width. Our frame perimeter is pretty small at 25 by 25, so not tiny but not big by any means. But it makes it as easy as possible to just run into a game piece. We don't care if it's tipped, we don't care if it's sideways, we don't care what orientation it's in. It's just get it in the robot and start driving to go score. That then the treadmill and those Omni wheels are doing all the alignment of the game piece, that by the time you go score, the game piece is already indexed, that you just extend the elevator, drop it, place it, and you should be off to the races. But we still have a handful of things to iron out for getting some of our mechanisms finished up. And then our programming team's been doing a really good job of getting ahead of the game for having those systems programmed and ready to tune once the mechanism's complete. But looking forward to getting that wrapped up as soon as we can to get ready for our first event at Gwinnett. So,
and I think the coolest part about this robot is we theoretically never need to turn around. just with being able to intake in one direction and outtake the other. It makes autons a bit simpler of not having to do the swerve spins. But yeah, we're super excited. If this thing does what it's supposed to, it'll be really fun.
Yeah, I think that's where we're seeing a lot of robots at this point. I think 1683 takes the cake, with Ignite kind of on their heels a little bit for robots that have actually scored game pieces. I think everybody else is kind of we'll see if it actually works.
Hey, it works in CAD, right? That
Worked in CAD.
dip it.
But
Yeah.
it's,
We got two more weekends before Gwinnett, and we're gonna need all that time we can get looking at IHOT and 1771. There's gonna be some really good bots there in Georgia this year, or in PCH district this year. So.
mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of people mentioned it in the chat, but we saw the 1690 reveal video, and we're like watching the cube launching. We're like, you know what? It wouldn't take that much of a change to this indexer to just be able to kind of drop a gate and shoot the cube out the end. So we're
with or without the elevator.
Without the elevator.
Okay.
I think, Ian, if you go to the other photo, I think it's photo just image is the title, where you can better see the gate that drops down. If you zoom in.
Yeah, so at the end of the treadmill, we have a little pneumatic gate that sits down there that the game piece runs into. You wind up pinching the game piece, but then when you go to actually score, we then drop the gate, elevator goes out, comes back in, gate goes back up for.
And then when we're scoring in low, instead of it going out of the elevator, we just drop the gate and shoot the piece off.
Yeah, so we'd have the option there to spit it out the intake as well. But as Thomas mentioned previously, that would involve kind of doing a 180 in order to spit it out low and on the floor. So some things to check out how they work in reality compared to, again, the plan in the mind. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I saw 1683 working on their auton, trying to do a few pieces, right? So I'm kind of curious, with all this movement and all these robots, where's the 3 robots supposed to go?
That's where I spoke to you, Brian, about this. But in my opinion, I think the perfect third bot auton, if you can figure it out, and elims is being able to score your first cube and then balance. I think that is, if you are planning on being a third bot, if you can get that, you are golden. And bonus points if you're able to go up, over, fully exit the community zone to get that extra 3 points, and then balance on top of it. That I think is what, especially at state and worlds, is what we're going to be seeing the third bots doing.
Yeah, I think at district levels, any alliance captain's going to be incredibly lucky to get one of those robots that's kind of that, like, it's a huge scouting detail to check for if a team can balance an auton, to say, all right, you take care of that and we'll just score as many game pieces as we can. That really opens a lot of doors.
The highest value thing you can do in the entire game, if you can auto balance, that's very desirable.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
You just
have a drive base and some gyroscopes, and that's it. So do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we need to do some more practice now that we've got our robot together and it's more of its actual form, for getting over to DE. Hopefully, some more to practice balancing with other robots at the same time instead of just playing on our partial charging station at our shop. But yeah, any of that practice you can get before your actual event is a huge bonus. All right, so that winds up wrapping up our reveals for the robots we get to show off. Again, I think the ambition certainly there for making some awesome robots. I'm looking forward to see our team included, if we can actually pull off what the design intent was and have the robot get anywhere near its competitive ceiling. But I think, again, it's really cool to see teams swinging for the fences, and then also see some robots that already have things together and are already rolling. So we got some games of catch up to play, but be a lot more obvious to see how things are going to shake out as these events start happening with Albany this upcoming weekend. But
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the robots we've seen so far? Maybe some of the robots we haven't seen so far? I think some of the curiosities are then what we got, like 1102 hanging out there.
We got
4188.
Brandon King from 4188.
Yeah, you're
Brandon,
in the chat, Brandon.
Send me a photo of your robot in Slack. I can get this on the stream in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We're doing it live, Brandon.
Come on, Brandon. Everyone in the chat, bully Brandon into getting a picture of the robot.
Encourage Brandon to share his
I'm just waiting for him to upload the 1678 bench grinder. Look at there you go.
Sonny's got a good point there for 1261's another interesting robot. I think they're a team that's on the up and up with having lodged a really solid performance and robot last year.
On the up and up? Okay, sure. Yeah, they're solid. So yeah, there's a bunch of robots I'm curious about. I've seen a few pictures of some of our South Carolina teams.
So Brandon's going to reveal.
I just got texted an email and a video from 1771. Let me get it to Ian. See, you could be doing this, Brandon. You could be doing. No, I've checked. It's a 6-second video. It is of their robot.
So I guess Brandon's going to reveal Gwinnett. So does that mean they're going to skip Albany?
I think so. You heard it here first, folks. Live on Peach Pit.
All right, I just sent it to you, Ian. It should be a link, YouTube link in your Slack.
Yep.
It's a bolt, right? A bolt.
It is not.
Okay, so let's switch back over to that scene. And here it is.
They got the Team Auto video up on a projector here. I recognize that fine anywhere.
Oh, it's watching your video.
And it did the arm thing. So this has to be happening tonight because as of 5 p.m. today, all their robot had done was done some characterization, I think, on their swerve modules for getting things squared away on that front. So they're busy. So
they were very confident. Like, all right, everybody stand back. No, like you can't stand there. That's if something flies, it's going that way, right? So we cleared the path, and we're like, okay, let's see what happens. It ran smoothly and safely.
All right, Brandon.
Brandon apparently sent us a picture to one of us.
Let's see. Yeah, we got it here, but it's I don't. What are we supposed to share for this, Brandon? This isn't a robot. This is.
All right. Yeah.
Brandon, send it to me so I can upload it to our drive to get it shared.
No, this is Brandon. That and fishy pictures of carbon fiber arms that you have to surprise us with to get it on the show.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, trick me once or fool me once, something or another.
And no, you can't have people on the field, so I know that's not a valid robot.
We always had an animator back on the team in my rookie team in Winnovation back in the mid-2000s that going through the brainstorming process would always come up with this concept of wrapping a monkey in tinfoil and using that as the robot that you could guarantee every single year he was going to mention this idea, but never quite made it on the field.
Alrighty, with that, are we ready to I know it's getting quite late for us on the East Coast. Any more thoughts before we wrap up?
Don't forget the balance.
Yep. Remember to charge your batteries. Remember to check your batteries so you don't bring dead batteries to the event. But focus on the simple things. Be consistent at those things, and hopefully those teams attending Albany have an awesome event and learn some things and make some improvements along the way. But any other thoughts before we wrap up the night?
Nope.
No.
See you next.
I would like to review a little bit. This I think this is something that's a little bit more reflective at the end of the season, but it doesn't harm. No harm in checking it now. But we did lay some wagers on the line in our initial week kickoff that I'd be very interested in doing a quick check on now to see what confidence values are. So 2023 wagers, and I know we had like 5 different wagers going on. That this is what I took notes on. So we have, what is the maximum number of game pieces a single PCH robot will score this season? And I guess to put the numbers where the mouths were at the time. I was the skeptical one at 11, including shuttling. If a teammate should be shuttling game pieces for you. For scoring up to 11 pieces with a single robot, including a shuttler. And then Thomas was the most ambitious then, with then a 16 game piece robot. And then Brian at 15, no shuttling, and David at 12 with shuttling. How are we feeling about those values?
Well, so
I'm
the rules
very happy with
changed
them.
because I expected somebody to do all the common game pieces in the middle, because you could do that under 3 seconds and take advantage of the 3-second rule, right? So by changing that, I'll probably come down probably 11.
It's a good number, Brian.
I'm
It's a
sticking
good
to
number.
my guns. I'm sticking to my guns. 16 will happen. It will happen. I will die on this hill.
Well, we certainly have the robots ambitious enough to try for 16. We'll see if they can pull it off. All right. Then next question coming up next.
I have a question, since strategy and playing by the rules. So if you move a scored game piece from the hybrid up to a higher score, does that count as one of your?
That's one. That's one. That's one. Doesn't count as 2. That's 1.
Well, no, but do you get that scoring in your cycle because it's already scored? Do you get to count it on your total, or is that because of the first box?
You're saying if somebody else pushed it in hybrid and you grab it and score it up high?
Yep.
That's a cycle.
That counts as one scored object for your robot.
All right.
Yep.
That should
Count it.
Yep.
I'm pretty happy with my 11. I'll stick with my 11. All right, we got how many balance RPs are going to happen in week 1 Albany. Again, the skeptic is Thomas is the skeptic on this one with 6. Brian at 7, David at 8, and myself at 15. But I think the only reason I'd be skeptical about that number is that there are only 21 robots, or 22 robots maybe at Albany, that there really aren't going to be too many matches. So I'm curious to see how that one plays out.
right.
But given week 0 matches, I am more confident that either teams will be auto balancing and or getting at least a double climb at the end of the match. That I think that 15 balance RPs is much more likely than I think was initially in thought at the beginning of the season.
So when we talked about this, you also said, don't risk triple balancing only in playoffs. Are you changing that?
I still think it's difficult, to be fair, but I think it's not going to be as difficult as we were initially thinking right at the beginning of the season.
Having one go up first and even leaving it tilted, right, and just go off to the side and make it easier for the next two to come up.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to make an amendment to mine. I know in the last one I stuck to my guns, but Callan, you are right that there's only 22 teams going to this event, which means that 69-19, 41-88, and those will have a bigger impact on the number of matches that that can have auto balances. Because I believe each team gets 12 matches. So I'm gonna go 41-88 and 69-19. They're only going to miss a couple each. So I think it's going to be 20 matches that get the balance RP.
And that's the thing. You don't even need triple balancing for that. If you have the one balance and auton, you're just fine with double balance at the end. But
Yeah. What was mine again?
you were at a 7.
That's low.
That's low.
I'm gonna go 14.
We're making some notes so we can remember this later in the season when we.
Yeah, because now that we get a chance to see week 0, it's like, well, and I will point out that there was some chatter on the PCH Mentor about how easy or hard was the balancing going to be. And I'm like, but there's a big dead zone in the middle. It's not was it 2012 game? It was like really tippy, and yeah, it's. And I think even in week 0, those were all manually driven. It wasn't really any automation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I'm just going to point out that I'm pretty happy with my numbers on guesses for scoring, the amount of scored objects as well as the amount of balanced RPs so far. So we'll see how those play out. But question number 3 was then how many balanced RPs are going to happen at District Champs, which I know is still a ways off, and I think we'll have a bit better concept after some matches start rolling here. But what we have, Brian, the skeptic here, then at 15% of matches, 50% of total opportunities will get a balance RP. David at 20%,
Yep.
me at 43%, and Thomas at 65%. So that would put Thomas in the category of at least one alliance in every single match. At least 1+ alliances in every match is getting a balance RP, which I think by District Champs, I know we kind of extended District Champs to 50 teams instead of just the smaller one we had last year. But so, you might have some more breadth of skill level than District Champs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm hovering around 50% number is in that ballpark.
Yeah, I was saying I'll stay at 50, but I kind of almost want to go up a little bit just because.
No, your number's at 15, Brian.
15. I want 50. I'm pretty sure I had 50. You just wrote it down wrong.
No. You were at 15, Brian.
Yeah, the bridge has a bigger dead zone than I thought. I'm way low.
Yeah.
For District Champs, way low.
I like what I heard better, 50.
Yeah, it's probably going to be closer to 50, but I'm way low.
All right, 50's already taken, David. You have to do a number.
49.
49 or
This is Price was Right.
$1, Bob. But yeah, I think cool to do a little reflection on those initial instincts about how this game would play out. But yeah, I think we were a little bit hit or miss last year on some of those numbers, but just adjusting them here and there based on our what we've seen so far. But I'm sure we'll keep changing them as the season goes. But
oh yeah.
I'll just say that you wrote it down wrong. I didn't change.
No, you changed. All right. I think with that, we're ready to get going and go to bed.
Yep.
So good night, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for this reveal night, and we'll see you next time. Good